When most people think of a guy's trip, they think of getting away from their families, partying, and doing questionable things with the bros. This is not that. This isn't about a trip. It's bigger than that. It's a movement. This is a community with one intention in mind: to become better men. I'm your host, Kyle Depius. My guests and I will share the tools and strategies that have allowed us to transform our lives, create freedom, and be the men we want to be. If you're committed to growth for yourself and your family, you're in the right place. This is Guy's Trip.
All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Guy's Trip. My name is Kyle Depius, and I'm your host. Hey, if I sound nasally or congested or stuffed up, that's because I am all the above. It's been a challenging 3.5 weeks at the Depius household. My son got sick. Took him about a week, maybe a little bit over a week. And then my wife got it. Same thing. Probably a little bit longer than a week for her. And I thought, all right, for sure, this is going to skip me over. I'm not going to get it, but that's not the case. It's been a tough one. So please forgive me for my voice. May not be sounding great, certainly not normal, but I got to push forward anyway. I wanted to talk to you guys about something that I see in culture and in society as it relates to manhood. And I usually don't talk about topics like this, but this is pretty near and dear to my heart. And I think this is really important. And I think every guy needs to hear this, especially since 2020. We look back at 2020 and we're told to stay home, keep away from other people, keep your distance, which we've now found out there was no rhyme or reason to that happening, the 6-foot thing. I won't even go into it. However, what that's caused was it put more fuel onto the already existing fire in manhood that we see as isolation. Men, especially men, are struggling with isolation. We already have a tendency to put our heads down, stay to ourselves, not really share where things are going not great in our life, where the opportunities are, where we're challenged, and asking for help. We already struggle with that. Cultures have already kind of shown us that men just put their head down and keep going. We lone wolf it. But we know that's not true. We know that true strength comes from vulnerability. But we have a problem with isolation. And I want to talk a little bit further about that. Isolation leads to loneliness. And loneliness can lead to coping behaviors or escapist type of behaviors. And the ones that I wanted to talk about, the coping, the escapism type things, it looks like a few different things. Number one would be alcohol. I'm just going to list them, then we'll come back to it. So we got coping through alcohol, coping through pornography, or perhaps infidelity. Those are obviously doing the same thing. Coping through drugs, and then coping through gambling. Now, let's go through each one of those quick. Alcohol. So I've been on an alcohol-free journey since November 27th of 2023. So we're coming up on, well, my goal was to get to 6 months. And so here we are in middle of March. I'm over 100 days in, close to 120. And I decided that I needed to give my body a break from alcohol. If I'm 43, that means that I have been drinking alcohol for almost 25 years. Depends on when we say I started, but about 25 years. So I felt like, gosh, I think my body just needs to kind of heal from this. And as soon as I started to share some of that stuff, guys, I can't even tell you how many people have come to me and said, man, I'm on I'm on 6 months too, or I'm on 3 years, or I just stopped as well. And the amount of information, data, science, all this stuff out there about the effects of alcohol on our brain and body that's being shared by really big brands and podcasts and shared in a way that we can understand. Like Andrew Huberman's got a great podcast on it. Go get it. People are waking up to alcohol, and they're waking up to realizing that they're using alcohol or misusing or abusing alcohol as a way of coping with stress. Okay. So again, we're talking about isolation leads to loneliness. Loneliness leads to coping. We do that through alcohol. Second, pornography. I was just it was just in Florida, and I was invited to a men's Bible study. And there's about 30 to, like 30 guys there. And a friend of mine invited me to it. He's like, hey, message is kind of deep this week. We're talking about pornography. I was like, oh, cool. I'll see you there. Can't wait. But I joke about that right now, but this is a really important topic because all the information out there on some of these statistics on pornography, it is rampant, and it is destroying marriages. It is destroying men's lives. Coping through alcohol, pornography, infidelity, drugs, and then gambling. Have you watched a sports game recently on TV? How many advertisements are there for DraftKings or whatever else it might be? It is absolutely crazy. As to why this stuff is legal, I don't know. Maybe a whole other topic. I don't get it. I don't do it. But that's it. Coping from alcohol, pornography, infidelity, drugs, and gambling. Isolation leads to loneliness. Loneliness leads to coping. All these things are destroying marriages, leaving our wives devastating. They're hurting our kids, and it's causing heaping amounts of regret, shame, and guilt. So, what is the solution? I think the solution, if we're struggling with isolation, the solution needs to be community. We need to normalize men getting together and talking about things like getting better in their marriages, getting better as fathers, where they're struggling, where they're tempted. I did 31 days in Proverbs last year. And when you step back from Proverbs, a book of the Bible talking about instructions for everyday or daily living, it gives us a path. And this path, as it relates to sin and temptation from Proverbs, highlights two things. Now let's put it into a sports analogy, something that all you guys will understand. To overcome sin and temptation, not that it'll ever go away, it's always going to be there. We have to play offense and defense. So if you want to overcome isolation, offense and defense, and building a band of brothers, building community, finding community, that's how you play offense. That's how you play offense against isolation. You're tempted to just stay home. You're tempted to have another, whatever it might be, another drink. You're tempted to open up something on your browser, on your laptop, whatever it might be. I mean, pornography is just 5 seconds away from us on our phone. Can you imagine? Just think about that. Your phone in your pocket right now. You are 5 seconds away from pornography. That is crazy. We are tempted nonstop. You need community. You need a band of brothers who will look you in the face, call you out when you need to be called out, encourage you when you need to be encouraged, cheer you on when you need to be cheered on. The answer for isolation is community. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Share it with a brother who needs to hear it. And I'll see you on the next one.
Thank you so much for listening. If you got any value out of today's episode, make sure to leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. If you're interested in joining us on a guys trip and being part of our community, check out all of our upcoming trips at guystrip.co. I'll see you on an adventure soon.